all, and welcome back. Today we're going to see if this G1 Universe Optimus Prime is worthy of our collection and the perfect desktop Optimus Prime. Let's start off by taking a look at the packaging. On the side we have a nice illustration celebrating the 40 years of Transformers, and on the back we have two configurations of our new iteration of the G1 Optimus Prime. It has a little bit of frame decoration on there, but it's fairly basic and mostly covers things like licensing and whatnot. On the side we have another illustration of G1 Optimus Prime in a style matching the other illustrations. On the front we have the truck mode of Optimus Prime, as well as the controversial open window. Now let's go ahead and get this guy out of the packaging and see if he's worthy of our collection. Out of the packaging, this figure definitely captures the G1 aesthetic. That said, something about the overall proportions does feel a bit on the super deformed side. Perhaps it is the thicker legs or the shorter arms. I'm not quite sure what it is, but something about it feels a little stumpy. But it does capture look. I will say this, upon first glance, it does have a little bit sense of cheapness when you compare it to a G1 figure. With the glossy paint, the chromes, and the metal, this definitely might seem like a step down at first. However, let's see what else it has that makes it stand out and maybe comparable to our old figures. First, let's go ahead and check out the truck mode. It definitely captures the aesthetic of G1 Optimus Prime. And to get a better look at that, let's go ahead and bring in my G2 figure and see how they stack up. Now, as you can see, the coloring as far as the use of silver is a little bit different. I think the one glaring issue I'd fault the new version for is the lack of paint on top of the front bumper. I think had it had that, that would definitely make it feel a bit better. Another thing to note here is also the proportions are different between the two of them. The two places that shows the most would be the depth of the cab. Prime's cab has always been somewhat narrow compared to a real semi, where the new version is a little more boxy. They've squared it up quite a bit. The other thing that stands out is the overhang. We actually have a little bit of an overhang here from the front windows, which in robot mode gives Prime a more heroic chest. However, it does stand out a little bit in truck mode and reminds me of the THS series. Of course, that one is far more of a train wreck, and this does assemble a bit better than that. Now the big question would be, can we use a trailer with this? So let's go ahead and pull him forward, and we have the G1 trailer right here. Well, what you can see is the peg actually fits inside of the fifth wheel. So this can pull the G1 trailer. However, proportionally, it is way too big. With that said, I do have an alternative option. I was almost ready to sell my Earthrise Optimus Prime, and then I realized this trailer is the perfect companion for this G1 Optimus. It proportions much better than with Earthrise, and I had the Nonif add-on here, which gives it the G1 look. Do not be surprised if we see a reissue of this G1 figure with this trailer. I would like to see different wheels on the back of this. However, I don't think it's a big enough variance to be an issue. And lastly, since we're trying out trailers, I've got one more to try. Here we have the new Studio 86 Optimus Prime trailer. And honestly, now you could probably make some tweaks and make it work. However, as is out of the box, it just doesn't really suit it. Now, since this did come by itself, it is meant to store the weapons that it comes with in the back. And we have 5 different mounting points. As well as popping this out gives us 3 more in the back. What's nice about that is that we can take all the various tools and weapons from previous lines that are 5mm pegs and use with this. I'm not huge on putting the weapons on the back, especially now that I have a trailer that works with this, but that is just a solution that they provide you with. Now let's go ahead and get this guy transformed. And transformation is very G1 as far as this figure goes. It's definitely held together much tighter because we don't have any places that are kind of coming apart because it has so many different pegs. Even in the foot here, there's 3 different pegs that connect it here and then the single one here in the middle. But to transform him, we need to get this loose. So we can pull the arm out like so. And this is, of course, very much reminiscent of the G1 figure, but there is a nice twist on here. So we can go ahead and get these out. We can move the legs down, split them, drop the feet, So far, we're definitely very much G1 Optimus Prime. Move the shoulders forward. Now, here is two differences, and they are two very cold differences. One of them being the head, which we pop that back, and then we pull him forward. And honestly, it's a very tight joint. So if you've got something to put in there that won't scratch the head, that will be a solution. But then we have the hands. And this is what is definitely very different, and something that kind of is an evolution from the missing link Optimus Prime. So we pop these down. We can do it on both hands. And we just rotate the fist. It's amazing it took this long to come up with such an elegant solution. But look at that. We have our fully transformed Optimus Prime. Now in the packaging, we have a few things. We have our Prime himself. We have our instruction manual. We have a matrix of leadership, Energon axe, and 2 blasters. I really love that we have so many options, and the blasters are nicely painted. I want to say at first that it's a glossy plastic, but there's just, it's kind of almost like a thickness there that makes it seem like there's a layer of paint. Now, of course, Prime can hold one of these in each hand, or you can go with whichever your favorite is. Then we have a chest that opens up, and we have a matrix that goes inside. Now, I do expect that we will probably see multiple repaints of this one, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a proper exclusive G1 inspired version that comes with a trailer, that comes with better paint, perhaps maybe a nicer matrix that's made of metal or coated in some way. But this is still a cool budget little Optimus Prime that I think is excellent for playing on the desk. Now we can pop out this weapon here, and this works in both hands, but you just place that over his fist, and we have our Energon axe. I think that's a nice addition. This is definitely decked out. This has plenty of nice little accessories on here that really make it something fun to play with. Now let's go ahead and check out Articulation. Now this is something that, while is somewhat blocky and does reference G1, could definitely prove itself to be a fun little figure. So we have hip articulation that goes out. We have rotation at the hip, forward movement. This moves out of the way, so you can get a very nice front kick. Goes all the way back, which is part of transformation. These wheels are on hinges, so they can move out of the way. So in the hips alone, there's already a ton of articulation. Knee goes 90 like so. No waist rotation. Well, I take that back. There is waist rotation underneath, but nothing that breaks up the cab. So that's actually nice, so you can maintain the look, but you're not losing any of the articulation. Going to the shoulders, this is part of transformation. We get a shoulder movement in there. We have a hinge that moves up. We have rotation at the bicep, elbow that goes 90, and hands actually don't do anything. And that is actually for the sake of the transformation, which it's just the give and take of this. Head is on a ball joint, so we can look around, more so than a lot of robots, just because the head's going to be bulkier, and this follows the old aesthetic, so he has a more rounded head. Now, there's one bit of extra articulation in here, and that would be the feet. So we have ankle pivot, rotation on that pivot, and toe movement. So 3 points of articulation right there in the foot, and I wiggled it off the joint. However, just lock it back on, and we are good to go. So doing that rotation there, it seems to walk it off the joint somehow. Sometimes. However, it's an easy fix and not a major issue. But overall, this is a fun little guy so far, especially because you get the look and you don't feel bad messing with it. Where the missing link, you're kind of afraid to mess with it too much because you don't know if the paint's going to chip or if you're going to break a joint. It is a little bit more delicate and more of just a display piece, where this is something that is fun. Now, this Optimus has a play feature I'd like to cover, and this is something that's pretty cool about this as well, and that is the inclusion of the 5mm pegs. So we have 2 in the back here, we have 2 under the feet, we have 1 in the back, and when we remove this, we gain some in the shoulder. And so that allows you to take things like Weaponizers, where you can pull a part off here, and you can mod out your Optimus Prime and get some different concepts here. So that gives us the ability to add a backpack, add some back guns, add some shoulder weapons, multiple arms, feet extensions, you know, whatever you can imagine utilizing this line for, you have the ability to mod it out. Now, I will say I would have liked to seen a couple extra things, like, for example, maybe something where the hands could fold in or turn in a way where they become a peg, where, like, for example, you could turn this into a gun that goes on his arm. However, you know, that's a minor gripe, but this does gives us some options where we can play around and make some cool new versions of G1 Optimus Prime. It just helps incorporate them into the modern line and adds another level of playability. Now let's do a few comparisons. Here's Classics Optimus Prime, Earthrise Optimus Prime, GoBot's Road Ranger, the new Studio 86 Optimus Prime, and for some G1 comparisons, we'll start with the world's smallest Optimus Prime, then we have the G1 Optimus Prime, and lastly, let's look at the missing link Optimus Prime. Now, some might have considered this the poor man's version of this figure. However, there's a lot of noticeable differences. This is definitely not as premium as a figure due to the paint materials. However, I feel more comfortable handling this Optimus Prime over the missing link. The missing link is more of a display piece that you'd pose and display and not touch. Where this deluxe class figure is something you could definitely mess around with and not feel like you're going to break it or risk damaging it. Now, having had a chance to mess with this guy a little bit, I do think it has a little bit of flaws here and there, and that is largely things along the lines of maybe a little bit extra paint that could have been done on this bumper, or the proportions a little bit. But even with that said, even with these large handholds, which is probably my least favorite part, this guy is fun. He definitely gives you that box art look, but you can get some nice poses, and he has enough versatility and interaction with modern figures that it makes it something fun to play with. So I say, out of all the Optimus Primes I've picked up this year, and there's been quite a few that have dropped this year, this one is the one I would put on a desk. This is a toy that while I'm waiting for a call or something to do, that I would want to fidget with. So while yes, it is not perfect, it is fun, it captures the feel enough, and it's definitely something I can enjoy. So anyway, like always, let us know in the comments below if this is worthy of your collection, like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.